Episode 274, Rebuilding Identity and Joy, with Jenn Zingmark and Bob Smith.
Welcome to Latter-day Life Coaches, the podcast where each episode is a conversation between me, Heather Rackham, and one of my amazing coach colleagues. Each coach here is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a highly trained, experienced life coach making a great impact in the lives of their clients. And together, we have one main goal, helping you live your best life no matter what. You ready for this conversation with a coach? Here we go.
Today, Heather welcomes back coaches Jenn Zingmark and Bob Smith for a conversation about what it really takes to heal, rebuild, and grow through some of life's hardest seasons. Jenn shares what she sees in men and women navigating divorce, including spiritual disorientation, shame, fear, and loss of identity. Bob opens up about the struggles many men face when they do everything quote-unquote right, but still feel disconnected from themselves, their purpose, and God. Together they explore why support matters, why individual work is essential to relationship healing, and how coaching can help men and women move from feeling stuck and powerless to becoming grounded, intentional, and deeply connected to God. They also share the heart behind their programs and why creating gender-specific spaces can be so transformative. This episode is a hope-filled invitation for anyone who feels lost, disconnected, or unsure of what comes next. Please enjoy.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Rackham. I'm here every week, and today I'm bringing back two guests that have been with me before. You already know them, Jenn Zingmark and Bob Smith. Both of them are doing awesome work helping Christians and Latter-day Saint men and women rebuild their lives and deepen their faith during some of life's hardest seasons. I want you guys to get as much time with them as you can possibly get, but I'll give you a really quick rundown. Jenn helps men and women navigate divorce and rebuild their identity and joy. And Bob works with men, helping them to step into leadership, responsibility, and purpose. So together, their work actually really complements each other really well. And I'm excited to have them with me today. So hi, Jenn and Bob. Now that I've said my mouthful, how you guys doing?
So good. Happy to be here.
Good.
Yeah, so good to be with you, Heather and Jenn.
Yeah. I am excited for this, and thanks for coming back to visit with me here. We always have great conversations individually, and so I can, the three of us together, I'm excited for where this takes us. So anyway, I want to know, first of all, how you guys came to work together. Obviously, you're both coaches. You have your own businesses, your own practices, but how is it that you work together in some way?
I think Jenn and I knew each other from the pre-moral world, and we discussed how this was going to go, when it was going to go, and then it just kind of all worked out. I'm just kidding. So I think Jenn reached out to me a while ago when I was starting my coaching practice and said, "Hey, do you want to be on the podcast?" I believe, right? And so we did that, and then ever since then, it's been just glorious from my perspective. Jenn, so it's like we've shared clients, over time. It's like, here, you take them, no, you take them, no, you take them. So it's like this ping pong ball going back and forth. So we've done that, and we've collaborated on a variety of things, and with the people that we work with, and so it's been amazing working relationship too.
Awesome.
Yes,
I love it.
it's been great. I agree with Bob. It was just meant to be. We definitely share common goals for our clients, and really just a passion for helping men and women reach their full potential. So I think it's just amazing that we've been able to connect and support each other in that way.
I love it. It's interesting how life works, right? It's not like there's a master puppeteer in any way, but also our heavenly parents really do guide us and put people in our path that really help us accomplish the things that we are striving to accomplish. And you guys are a really great example of that. So I'm glad I get to have you both here today. So I want to know, what people are struggling with right now. What are you guys seeing? Probably similar things, but also maybe some different things. What are you seeing out there?
Well, from my perspective, I work with men and women mostly struggling with challenges related to divorce, recovering from it. And I see a lot of spiritual disorientation, actually. It's really upending, when your life falls apart from divorce, and people really struggle to figure out, if God still has a plan for them. There's a lot of shame around divorce in our faith community, and just in general, people feel like they failed in their life when their marriage falls apart. They have a lot of fear for their future. And especially for women, I have noticed that they feel this loss of identity when they lose their partner, right? They don't know what that means anymore, as if they're not a wife and their family structure has changed. So men and women describe feeling overwhelmed, uncertain, disconnected from the life they thought they would have. So it's a challenge.
Really quick, I love that you use the words, two words, spiritual disorientation. I think that is a great way to describe what it feels like when anybody starts, and not even just in through a divorce situation, but when you start to feel, I don't know, like, I guess disorientation is really the best word when it comes to things of faith. And I think that that's a great way to look at it. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. It sort of just evolved over time as I've just recognized it over and over. People
Yeah,
feel like they've lost their footing. The ground underneath them has moved, and now they're not sure where they stand and where everything else in their life fits.
it is really disorienting to experience that. Bob, how about
Yeah.
you?
That's actually an amazing segue into this is similar to the way that I grew up, which was I got baptized at the right time. I got the priesthood at the right time. I went on a mission when I was supposed to. I came back and went to BYU like I was supposed to. I got married at 22 like I was supposed to. We had the 5 kids like I was supposed to, career, callings, the whole thing. And I felt so deeply disconnected from myself, disconnected from my purpose, and I had no idea why. So it seems so clear that we have this path that gets you up until eternal marriage, and then you're just supposed to kind of do life thereafter, which is great and beautiful. And you got a family and you're doing the church thing and all the stuff. So why do we feel so disconnected? And what I found is that men lack vision for their life. They don't even know who they are. It's really just plug into this system and and this is who you are and this is what you're supposed to do. And so then you just become a human doing instead of a human being, believing, at least what I believed was, well, I just need to read scriptures more, or I just need to do more, I need to go to the temple more often, or I need to go do this, or I need to serve harder, or I need to do more genealogy. Maybe that's the missing piece, or we need to go on more date nights, or it just turned into this hamster wheel of doing more and believing at the end of that rainbow was going to be the happiness and the peace that I wanted to experience and the connection. When all the while the connection that was missing was with me and with my creator in the process. And why did you put me here on this earth, Heavenly Father? Why did you put me here? Why did you create me? And what purpose am I here to serve? Not just waiting for someone to give me the elders quorum president calling or the bishop calling or hey, you've been called up to now this thing. And now all of a sudden I have purpose. And then I'm no longer the bishop or the elders quorum president. So now my purpose is gone. So it's really it's a divine intrinsic connection to ourselves and to our creator. And why did he truly put me here? And I don't think we've given that enough cadence and enough space to really go through the process of figuring out what that is. We do a good job creating a living, but have we done a good enough job creating a true life, the life that we actually want to live so that we're living life by design instead of by default?
Yeah, I really appreciate that you shared with us there, like, what's missing, but then what people can, like, what they need, what they're actually looking for, that they don't know that they're even actually looking for, right? I think that
Yeah.
that helps people. It gives like that back end direction. Jen, circling back to you a little bit, what are you seeing that women really need in those moments where they're not getting for them to be able to move forward?
Yeah, the biggest thing I feel like can help anyone in this situation is having support, especially spiritually and then practically, right? Like I said, it's so disorienting. You don't know where to go, where to start, and it feels really isolating when your life is suddenly so much different than it was before, than what you thought, and different from everyone else around you. It feels like when you're going through a divorce or a major life change, you're the only one, right? You notice all the other happy families, happy couples, it looks like everyone else's life is just great. And here you are, everything's falling apart. So I feel like support is the most important thing to help you just get your grounding and the right guidance. The world comes after you when you're going through big life changes like divorce or even the death of a spouse or faith crisis, anything. And I feel like that you're in a vulnerable place, much more than you realize, because you've lost your support system. You've lost your partner. I've just seen it happen over and over. Satan comes after you at that time. And so it's more important than ever to ground yourself spiritually and then get the right guidance that can just help you learn practical tools to navigate life in a new way.
So the common thread I'm hearing between the two of you is that people have work to do as an individual. It's like rather than seeking for things, obviously support is something outside of us, but that is in support of what we're doing inside of us. And that really is the bottom line for all of us is we have work as individuals that we get to do in order to experience the life that we are meant to experience.
Yeah, so well said. You're exactly right.
Yeah. I've got kind of a funny little story from this weekend that may help illustrate too. So
Love it.
I was taking my kids to church like normal. They're here with me on the weekend. So I've gone through divorces, as you guys both know. I felt very challenged inside of my intimate relationship space, which is why I wanted to create this for men because I struggled and struggled and struggled so much, and I didn't want other people to struggle in the same way. If I could find the way out, then I'd like to help lead other men out of it so they didn't have to spend the years in the struggle that I've been through. But this weekend, my kids are here with me, and we were planning on going to church at a certain time. And so the time came and it went. And I started to feel that sense of the blood starting to boil on the inside. And I wanted to step in and start controlling everything. And this is what we're going to do. And get your clothes on and like, let's get out the door because, because otherwise we would go to the next service, which would then cause my daughter to to miss her meeting that she had scheduled as at that point in time. So I said, either we go now or we go at this time and you're going to miss your meeting that you'd been planning on. So I'm trying to support you in doing this, but this is expectation here. So the time came and went, and instead of leaning in, that I've been known to do is to try to manage, to over control, to whatever, I backed off. And I had one of these. So this is one of my shining moments, which I like to share those. I like instead of sharing my bad moments, but this is one of my shining moments. I went downstairs and I got into my proverbs of the day, and then I landed in Ezekiel 36, which talks about the Lord giving us a new heart or a heart of flesh. And as I just went through Ezekiel 36, read it, spent some time with my heavenly Father and allowed him to change me from the inside out, then I was able to step back into that arena as a new person. It almost felt like a new version of me. And instead of showing up with control and tightness, it was openness, it was fluid, it was playful. And then my daughter that ended up missing her meeting, she ended up cuddling with me in church as we listened to this beautiful s- uh, talk about unconditional love. So we had this amazing experience, and I don't think it would have been as good had I not received that. And the real message here is that I've learned, and it's taken me, man, a long time to learn this, but alignment precedes assignment, meaning let's find our alignment with our Heavenly Father, with ourselves, and like what Jen said, with someone that could be a trusted coach, a trusted advisor, which is just so critical. because alignments is what determines our assignments. Alignments first is what determines your next step. So instead of thinking, I just need to work harder, and once I can just chug through all this stuff, then I'm gonna get my coach. And then once I can do all these things, then like once I get healthy, then I'll get a gym membership, whatever. But like, no, this one precedes the other. So that was a powerful reinforced lesson, I guess, from this weekend.
Yeah, in reading between the lines there, you took a pause, right? Like there was moments happening, there was things happening outside of you, and you paused for a minute and used some time to become intentional about how you wanted to proceed. And I think that is something every single one of us can learn how to implement in our lives. And then, to your story, see the direct result of taking a moment to just pause and regroup and do things on purpose to be intentional. I love it. So both of you guys help people moving forward when they're feeling stuck to becoming more empowered. Jenn, when women begin working with you, what does that transformation, what do you see that looking like?
Well, the first place I start is helping women shift their identity from victim to creator, recognizing that no matter what has happened, no matter what your circumstances are in your life, you still get to choose, you still get to create. You are choosing and creating the life that you're having, regardless of how circumstances change. I feel like that is just the first most important step. Then just reconnecting with God and really anchoring yourself in your faith and building those spiritual muscles, as I like to call it, when things are really difficult and life isn't going the way you hoped. Learning how to set healthy boundaries, regaining your confidence. Divorce and significant life changes, it can shatter your confidence and really make you feel like, you've lost everything. And so that's such an important step, and something that is really important to me. I focus on with everyone I work with is just learning how to feel joy again in your life and taking responsibility for that instead of waiting for someone else to make that happen for you, choosing how to feel joy. And sometimes you need to learn how to do that, right? It's not natural. And then learning how to create the life you want.
So what have you seen change in women when they do that? What's the result for them?
My goodness, it's amazing. It's so awesome to witness this happen for people. They really learn that they do have the power to create the life that they want. They kind of calm down and relax instead of feeling like, no, right? Something's gone wrong. And that on repeat, they're just worried and scared and on edge. They really just relax and accept what has happened, whatever life changes have occurred for them. And then they start to get this little glimmer of hope, like, okay, maybe my life isn't over. Maybe I could have joy again. Maybe God is still there and he is going to help me get through this, right? Like I love being a witness to that beautiful transformation where people go from so scared and stressed and worried to relaxing, just anchoring to the Lord and starting to have a little taste of that joy again, and then really just stepping into full empowerment and creating a bigger, better life than they ever had before.
I love it. Bob, setting the focus your way, what is the equivalent for you? What are you seeing the turning point be for men?
I think seeing themselves in a different light as being leaders over their life, over their family, as stewards. So that God has bestowed inside of each one of them a divine purpose and a stewardship. So your time is not yours, your body is not yours, your money is not yours, your wife is not yours, your family is not yours. You are stewards of all of this. And if we can learn how to steward well based on eternal principles, and by seeing ourselves in that role as the leader of this, of the stewardship, not in terms of controlling or domineering or toxic masculinity that gets thrown around sometimes, but in a true, this is my responsibility and I want to learn how to steward it well. And I need to start with stewarding myself well in order to show up well in this. in all of these arenas, all of these places that are important, and get the guidance that I need in order to learn how to do that where I'm missing, because there's so many things that Jen and I can help people with that they don't have to spend years trying to figure out on their own through books or podcasts or trainings or coachings or whatever. It's let's fast track this. Let's push this, take 10 years and push it into 90 days, literally 90 days, and help you figure that out. And it just makes all the difference in the world. One example is understanding the blocks that come up, and being able to have the support you need to remove those blocks quickly. So for instance, a guy just signed up for my program on Tuesday, and we had our class on Wednesday. He asked me, he says, how often do you think I'll be able to get coached in the class? And I said, well, whether you get coached or someone else gets coached, you have the opportunity for a transformational experience to even watch somebody else get coached in that process. But that first class, I actually pulled him up and coached him. And what we worked on, what came up for him is he felt like there was this wall between him and God. And it was because he didn't get a calling that he thought he was inspired and was planning on getting, and he didn't get it. And so he started to doubt and question whether he could even receive revelation anymore. So that was the wall between him and God. And within about 10 or 15 minutes of coaching, that thing had disappeared completely, because we were able to open it up, step into the truth, which is where God resides. And so it's really about putting men in communion with God, which is stepping into a place of authenticity and truth and speaking something that's true, and helping them feel the shift because of it. And then feeling all of the stuff around that, and then allowing them to have a different, true but empowering thought, as opposed to disempowering, really along the lines of what Jen said. And this is what he texted me afterwards. He said, that was powerful. He says, I haven't shared that experience with anyone except my wife, but it's been keeping me stuck. And he had been stuck for about 8 months, legitimately stuck. You broke down a huge wall. Thank you for your help with that. So that's the kind of work that Jen and I do. And it's just an absolute privilege to watch the miracle happen. And I think we discount, especially men. Oh my gosh, especially men, we discount the value of getting the help we need to remove these blocks so that you can step into your true power, your true identity, like heal from the wounds that you have that are holding you back, and that really block our way from becoming the versions of us that God really intended and created us to be.
When I listen to both of you and I'm seeing, the perspective from the work that Bob is doing with men and what the results are in their life, and Jen's perspective from the work that women and men are doing behind the scenes for them. And you can really feel that power, even though I'm not witnessing it, right? But I can feel that power coming through you guys. And I can't help but recognize when people are operating from that place as an individual, whatever the future holds from them, if it holds, another relationship, or just whether that's a marriage relationship or friendships or whatever it is, like I can't imagine that it can't help but be something very different than they were previous. Because when we change in such a powerful way, it changes our relationships. It changes so many things about us.
And the blocks that exist in one area exist in multiple
Mm.
areas. So
Hmm.
men have this constant ringing question that is from the time that we're born. And the question is, do I have what it takes? Another way to say that is, am I enough? And so often men can step into that place from a place of woundedness, where they grew up and their dad told them they weren't enough, or their mom told them they weren't enough, but maybe not specifically, but just in experience of growing up and feeling that way, and then can bring that into every area of their life. And then they go to their wife to say, hey, am I enough? And then that just sounds needy. And now your wife has another child to raise, as opposed to a man that's leaving the home. Or they go to their job and say, am I enough? And so then they're graspy, and then they're not making the money that they should, because they're not contributing at the highest levels, and in their full ability. So it's a question that gets answered early on, and usually not in the best way. And so then they're left struggling with that for so many years, where it doesn't need to be a struggle anymore.
Okay, Bob, I want to circle back in a minute and hear a little bit more about your program. But Jen, you actually have a couple different programs that you take people through. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So the first program that I created is called Faith-Filled Divorce. And I am so just thrilled with this program. I've been able to take many, many people through the program, men and women, and it's really designed for people actively navigating divorce. And it's interesting. That doesn't necessarily mean like before your divorce is final or as soon as it's final. Some people come along years after divorce, but they're just now ready to do the work, right? They're ready to sort of address all of the issues that arose through that marriage that ended and afterwards. So, anyone navigating divorce, it's ideal for people who are ready to heal spiritually and emotionally, people who want to be anchored in their faith during this time, and then who are ready to learn tools to move forward. So that's what it's all about.
Love it. Bob, tell me a little bit about yours.
Mine is called Become the Captain. It's gone through different iterations, but now it's really focused on helping LDS and really Christian men as well. But my marketing goes out to LDS men specifically. But LDS men reignite intimacy and lead their marriage within 90 days. That's the end goal of this. And so it's really comes in three parts. Ingredient number one. So it took me a long time to put these three magic ingredients together. And it's the combo of all three that make it special is revealing who you are, what you're all about, what's your vision, what's your identity, what are your core values. So who are you as a man? Number two is healing from the emotional wounds that have held you back, which I can help men do in a very, very short period of time. And then number three is Man of Steel, which is building all of the concepts and the tools and having all that stuff be in one place in one program so that you're not searching forever to do it. So it's like a warrior on the battlefield that knows his mission, knows what he's about, knows what he needs to go do. He's clear about that. Number two is he's got the right tools. He's got the sword and ready to go. But then the third part that is so easily missed is the healing part. So if you imagine he's knows what he's supposed to do, he's got the right tools, but then he's out on the battlefield and he has this big gaping wound on his arm. He can't even pick up his sword to use it on the battlefield. And so it renders that tool totally useless. And so the healing component is really, really critical in this because when your wife says, "Hey, we need to talk," just like a guy I helped the other day, he totally freaks out when his wife says, "Hey, we need to talk." And this has been going on for only 20 years. So then he works with me for an hour and we're able to clear that completely
Yeah.
to where it's no longer a problem for him when his wife says, "Hey, we need to talk." And not believing it's going to, end up in the depths of despair.
I have to make sure that everybody heard you correctly because when you said in the beginning, you said how people lead their marriages or lead their marriage in 90 days. I heard you say help people leave their marriage in 90
Oh,
days. So I want to make sure that
That's not it.
everybody, that's not the point. I just want to make sure that it's people heard you correctly.
yeah. We're in the marriage keeping business, I think.
Anyway, that it kind of made me chuckle there. Jen, let me ask you this really fast. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the two of you, but what kind of men and women would benefit most from your faith-filled divorce program that you have?
Honestly, any man or woman who really is, like I mentioned earlier, spiritually disoriented and wants help getting grounded. And as I've worked with just dozens and dozens of men and women over the last 15 years or so, there's just common hurdles that I've seen everyone encounters in this process. Everyone's situation is unique. Marriage dynamic and divorce and follow up are exactly the same, but there are common hurdles that I have seen everyone faces. And so I have specifically addressed each of those in my Faith-Filled Divorce program. And so it's really for anyone who's ready to thrive in their divorce, not just survive, because there's a lot of people that feel like I did it. I survived. I'm still alive, but there really is a path to becoming a better person in the process and really just refining and empowering yourself to live a better life. And so it's beautiful to watch this transition happen and I love it. But that's also what helped me create my new program that I have collaborated with Bob on, the Joyful Covenant Woman, after helping many women through this process. And, they learn some skills, they get grounded, and then they're like, now what? I have a whole new life. And many of them are single and they're wanting a better relationship the second time around. And so they really want to focus on showing up as the best version of themselves and, attracting the right type of person, being the best version of themselves in that relationship. And so Bob really inspired me to create something for women who maybe they're divorced, gone through a major life change, or maybe just their spouse is also doing this work. And, they might be wondering, what about my wife? What can she do to, improve herself, to really empower herself in her role as a woman? And so that inspired me to create this new program for women to really figure out who they are, separate from their spouse, separate in just themselves. Like, who am I? And how can I be the best version of myself, whether I'm married or single, and really step into the next phase of their life with purpose and through spiritual growth, yes, but through empowerment, right? Being empowered to know that, hey, I can do this. I can create the life that I want, no matter what has happened.
I think those of us who have gone through this, I would call it a metamorphosis, if that's the right word, like this change that we experience when we discover tools and we learn how to live a little bit more intentionally in our lives. And if we have a partner, if we're married, and we see the change happening for us, it can be disorienting in some ways for the partner who has not experienced that, because all of a sudden their spouse is living a little bit differently. And if they haven't seen it and experienced those tools, it can cause a little bit of struggle, I think, in a marriage, which seems a little bit like opposite of what should be happening. But when we both work on something together, like when both people can experience that, it does, there's a little bit more understanding there. Would you guys, what are your thoughts on that? What would you say?
Then I actually warned my guys, and I don't know if I should say this out loud or not, but I said, "Hey guys, just so you know, when you start going through this program, you're going to start changing immediately, and don't be surprised if your marriage gets harder in the short term, because what happens, if you can imagine, it's like two people that are in this dance and they're dancing in this certain way, and it's what we're comfortable with or what we're used to, even if it's not a healthy, positive dance is producing the fruit that we want it to produce inside of that relationship. But we just kind of stay with it because that's what we know, and our brains like to go with what's known as opposed to the scary unknown. And so when something starts to shift, it's as if a man is saying, "Hey, we're doing this dance, but now I think I want to start doing this dance." And it's a very different dance. And let me invite my wife into this new dance. And what that feels like is, "Hey, this doesn't feel very familiar. I don't really know how to do that dance. I don't understand what this means or what this looks like. Therefore, I'm going to resist and may even call you back into this other dance." And that can happen either direction too. Anytime the dynamic shifts can cause a sense of, "Hey, the ground underneath me is shifting and I don't really like it. So let's go back to the norm because that's at least what's known and what feels safe, even though it's not what's going to produce happiness and joy in my life."
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I really like that because it is really true. But what we do know is that growth is uncomfortable. And the whole reason for that discomfort is because there is something better on the other side, right? Like that's what you're promising, Bob and Jen, to your people that you're working with. Like, yes, this is going to be uncomfortable. It might be uncomfortable as an individual. It might be uncomfortable in your marriage, but there is something so much better on the other side of that discomfort.
Yeah.
Like, if your marriage might be fine now, but there is something so much more available to us. So
That's
that's
a
the
brilliant thought. It goes back to it reminds me of the thought of choose your hard, which is being unhealthy and overweight is hard, being healthy and fit is hard. So choose your
Mhm.
hard. Being poor is hard, being wealthy is hard. Having a disconnected, junky marriage is hard. Having an amazingly powerful connected marriage is hard. So choose the hard that you want to choose. But either way, it's gonna be hard. Just to you decide which hard you want.
Okay, you too. So something I do find interesting is obviously you guys are both serving different sides of the same struggle here. Bob works with men, Jen works with women and men. Like, at times there. Why is it important that men and women have spaces that are designed specifically for them? What makes that so important?
Sounds like a Jen question to me.
I was going to say, I'll go first. I think it gives both men and women, when you're in this container with just other women or just other men, it gives you the opportunity to really let down your guard. Bob and I have talked about this many times, how people who are struggling in their marriage often go to marriage counseling or therapy together, and it makes things worse, right? It seems like they just pull to their corners, dig in, and try to convince the therapist to get, on someone's side. And it can make things worse. What I've noticed is when you're in a room or a space with just other women, that we can let down our guard. We can relax a little bit, and we pull out what's common, the struggles that we're all facing, instead of trying to put up a front that, we can handle it, or we've got this. It's much safer to share what's really happening underneath. We don't have to pretend anymore. We're not, trying to be strong for our spouse or our children or anyone else. It's just you. You're in a safe place with other women who get it, who are also dealing with similar struggles and feeling the same lack of progress and lack of joy doing all the right things. That's what I've noticed happens so many times to us faithful, diligent Christian and LDS women, is we're doing all the right things. We're working hard, doing all the right things, but we're missing the joy that we should be feeling from those things. And it's amazing how just little small shifts in the way we view our situation, the way we interact with people, can help us experience that joy in a much deeper way.
Okay, Bob, your turn.
Yeah, I echo everything that she said. And one other element for men specifically is the lone wolf syndrome. It's so common with men. I think women do a much better job of socializing and friends and getting out and experiences and all of that. And men, we tend to kind of get overloaded with all the jobs and responsibilities and just thinking about life in terms of duties and struggle and work and job and calling and all of that, and just kind of grinding it all out without really realizing that we need the connection. We need to run with the pack. We need to not run as a lone wolf, because the lone wolf dies and gets eaten. We need to run with the pack of men that are running the same direction. And so that's a part of the big thing. And honestly, maybe you guys know this, but elders quorum has the highest suicide rate in the church. It's not the youth, it's elders quorum. And the reason for that, I think, is because of the reasons that we've talked about here today. Is we kind of get to this point where, okay, well, what's next? I did my mission. I'm married in the temple. I've got my kids and my calling and my career. So I got the house and the car and whatever else. But now, who am I? Where do I go? What do I do? And then an elders quorum doesn't really. It was meant to provide this arena for this to happen. But what needs to happen doesn't really happen in elders quorum, because nobody knows how to lead this in such a way that would allow the authenticity to come out. And let's destroy the shame, and let's get underneath and talk about what's really real. So, one quick example of that, I remember I taught an elders quorum lesson when I was in the middle of going through a divorce. I was right on the verge of divorce. And they called me up and said, "Hey, we want you to teach elders quorum." I said, I'm having some significant problems right now. Like, you really want me to teach elders quorum? They said, "Yes." I said, "What's the topic?" They said, "It's on eternal marriage." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's the perfect topic for me to be teaching right now, when I'm in the middle. Like, I'm probably, I don't know, a year away, 6 months away from from going through a divorce." I'm like, "You sure you want me to teach on this, right?" So we'd gone through years and years of counseling at that point, couples counseling. And so I said, "Okay, I'll agree, but I just want you to let you know, if I do this, we're going to talk about what's real. We're not going to cut corners. We're not going to gloss over. We're not going to talk about the fluffy. We're going to go with what's real." And the very first thing I did in that elders quorum lesson was, I said, "Okay, everyone that's been raised with imperfect parents, raise your hands." Every hand went up. I said, "Everyone that has had an experience where you interacted with your spouse or with a child or someone close to you, that you wish you could take that back and wish that interaction had not happened and that you would have done something differently." Every hand went up. And so I did a couple more questions like that. And I said, "Okay, now that we've leveled the playing field, that we all know that everybody in this room is imperfect, now we can have a real discussion." And so I told them about what was real for me, and I'm struggling with this, and this is what's happening, and I don't know how to handle this. But here's what I have learned, and I'll share this with you guys. And what happened from that, which I didn't realize until about 10 months later, I was meeting with our bishop of the ward, and he told me, he said, Bob, I want to let you know that I've had about 10 guys from the elders quorum call me and come meet with me individually, personally. And every one of them has referenced that one elders quorum lesson that you taught so many, many months ago. And I had no idea that it had any impact other than I just was trying to make sure everyone was uncomfortable in it because that's how we get to the truth. So I just wanted to be authentic, real, and I think that's what men need, and we're not getting it. And so so that was really the part of the point of this program, is to get to the place where we're getting real with one another on an every week basis. We don't pull any punches. I take men to the core of who they are because that's where God resides. And that's what I found, is when you can go to the core of what's really true and what's real and what's authentic, that's where God resides. And that's where women are most attracted to us as men, is when we know who we are and we're deeply connected to that person that we are, and then can offer that to our marriage rather than trying to have our wife tell us that we're good enough all the time.
So good. I'm chuckling because it was like, I mean, what you're saying is true, right? Like there's just that discomfort and is brings a lot of honesty and growth there. But it was like, Bob's like, I'm gonna be uncomfortable teaching this class. So I'm gonna have everybody else be uncomfortable right along with me. It's fantastic. So all right, you
Yes.
guys, before we go, I know that we have people listening who feel stuck, who are in the circumstances, the life circumstances that you guys have been describing right now. Jenn, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to ask the same thing to Bob. What would you say to women who are listening who feel like she has lost her joy? Like life is just not what it should be or what she thought it was going to be. What would you say to her?
I'm so glad you asked this question, but I'm going to start with a little bit of a follow up from what Bob said, and then I'll answer.
Yeah.
But I love that Bob said men don't tend to connect and open up with other men without being given an opportunity or a container. They just sort of lone wolf it. Women, I have seen many times they will connect and, have other women that they talk to and with. But those associations many times are not positive. It feels productive. It feels like, oh, I've got my girls, or, I have my tribe, but they can be negative because it just turns into venting sessions, griping sessions. And then you have a whole bunch of women that are just unhappy and dissatisfied with their lives and complaining and sharing with
And
each other,
feeding off
right?
of each other, right? It
Yes.
like breeds some discontent.
It does.
Yeah.
And I have seen this happen, and I've been caught up with it myself in my own life. And so I recognize that the right support group, the right opportunity to share with other like minded women that are forward focused, future focused, and really grounded in why are we really here, right? Like, it's not just to gripe and complain about everyone else or, to feel like there are other women that feel the same way I do or have the same struggles that I do. That's important too. But having a future focus about changing your life and yourself for the better, that's where I feel like the joy is missing, because women can be good at speaking up and sharing and talking with other women about what's wrong. It really takes someone who recognizes, I want to do something about it, and I'm the right person to make that decision for myself, to really step into that empowerment. And so for any woman who's listening who feels like they're just tired of doing all the right things and not feeling joy in their life, I want you to know that you don't have to stay there, that your life can be so much more rewarding, fulfilling, no matter your marital status or what else has happened in your life. You can step into that power that is yours to have more joy in your life and to create whatever you want for yourself, whether that's to get remarried or to even have more joy in the marriage that you do have. You can do that. You don't need anyone else's permission. You don't need anyone else's help to do that. That's what I love doing. I love helping women do that.
But too, thank you. Okay, Bob, your turn. I feel like I'm back and forth, back and forth.
Well, first, I just want to put a quick plug in for Jen. I hadn't even thought about that as far as women socializing, and it can look very social, but it can be still very negative and not really productive in the long run. That's a brilliant comment. And so just to plug Jen, is she is absolutely brilliant. She is highly skilled, and she actually cares about the people and doing this work. She is so fully invested in it. So I couldn't be happier to be kind of partnering with someone like this, because it's just an absolute privilege for me to be able to, for us to be able to work together. Let's see, for men, it's, do you want to continue doing it the hard way, or do you want to do it the right way? And there's a choice in all of this. The hard way is keep doing what you're doing, books, casts, and you can get all of the knowledge and all of the information. And a lot of my guys come saying, well, I already have all that. I already know all the things. What can you really do for me? And I said, well, how is that working for you? How is that book? Yes, books can be transformational. Podcasts can be transformational. All of these things can be transformational. You can get all that stuff up in your head. Has it actually connected to your heart and your soul? And I feel like my personal opinion, you guys tell me if you agree or disagree, but my personal opinion is that it takes a guide to help us tap down into that soul place. That's really what I feel like my job is as a coach. With anytime I'm coaching, I feel like my job is to help put men in the room with God and to get them feeling in that space so they can actually commune with God, because God is the person that's truly doing the work and the transforming in this process. So my job is to help lead men into the room and to put them in communion with him, and then let God do that work. And when you have the right ingredients, just like so I love making, pumpkin muffins or whatever. When my girls come, I make pumpkin muffins because I don't want to buy the crappy cereal at the store. So at least I know the ingredients that are going into these. If you have the right ingredients, turns out amazingly well. When you don't have the right ingredients, or you only have one or two of the right ingredients, but you're missing elements or missing ingredients, it's going to be really hard. And you'll always wonder, why do I feel so stuck? I'm doing all these things. I'm trying so hard, but yet I still feel like I'm in this hamster wheel of stuckness. And I can promise you, after 10 years and spending literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own brain and my own soul and my own work, and trying every therapy out there, EFT, tapping, NLP, coaching, hypnosis, EMDR. I've done all the things. I can tell you that I've got a system and a process that can fast track you to get you where you want to be, because it has all the right ingredients in it, and it makes all the difference.
Thanks, Bob. Bob and Jenn, thank you for both coming back to visit with me today. If people want to learn more about your programs that you have really done a great job of showing us, telling us a little bit about today, where can they connect with you? Jenn, I will start with you, and then Bob, if you will share.
Okay. Yes. So my website, my YouTube channel, my podcast is Find the Joy with Jenn. That's a great place for anyone to find everything that I offer. And I would like to add that I feel the same way about Bob. We have worked together for several years now. I have had such a beautiful experience watching him help men transform their lives. As he said, we have referred clients and shared clients, and I have seen the power of the work that he does. And I have said this to many men. I tell this to everyone. I feel like what Bob offers is what every Christian and LDS man needs in their life, to be the best version of themselves, to have the most success in their marriage and individually. So Bob's the best.
Thank you, Jenn. Okay, so tell us one more time.
Find the Joy with Jenn.
Find the Joy with Jenn. Okay, perfect. All right, Bob, become the captain. How can people connect with you and learn more about that?
Yeah, becomethecaptain.com or bob@becomethecaptain.com. Either way. Can I add just one more little quick thing too? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
So going back to Jenn, so I interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of LDS men in the process of building this, to understand what their needs were, what their problems were, what their concerns were, where they were getting stuck, and then what the perfect program would be. So after doing all of these interviews last year, then I put this program together to address all of that. But the one big hole that I struggled with is that I heard consistently from all these guys is they said, "What about my wife?" Because back to your point, Heather, is when one person starts to do work and does real work, like truly leaning in, all in kind of work, where they are really becoming a different version of themselves, it can be a strain and a struggle. So they said, what about her? And they meant it genuinely, not just, hey, well, my wife needs to do her work too, in that kind of spirit, but in a, I really want us to grow together so that we don't grow apart or have, additional struggles that are unnecessary. And I struggled with that. So I implemented the program, did it, but then I kept thinking, how can I get the women involved too? Because I'm hearing the men making these strides and doing amazing things, and they're changing their marriages, but there's this missing women's element to it. And I thought, well, should I invite their wives into this, or should I have a call with them, or how should I kind of handle this? And then I had this, stroke of genius that probably came from the mortal life, like we started with. And he said, why don't you call Jen and say, hey, Jen, I don't know if you'd be interested, but what would you think about putting together a program that would be the women's complementary version of this men's program? And so then she said, my gosh, that sounds, I think you said you've been thinking about this, considering that. And then this just kind of true as soon as I pitched it over to you. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that for just a second.
Yeah, it was right on time because many of the women who had gone through my faithful divorce program were like, okay, this is great. I'm feeling so much better. I'm excited. I've gotten through my divorce. I feel better about my life. Now what? And they were asking me for more. They were asking me like, what do you have next for me, Jen? And I was working on putting that together. And Bob shared his process of how he interviewed many men and really uncovered what their struggles were. And that's how he created his program. So after he invited me to create a complimentary program, I followed the same process and I did interviews with many, many women, as many as I could find. And I'm actually still interviewing women just to pick their brain and find out what's going on in your life. What are you struggling with and what do you really want? And so that's how I created my program, the Joyful Covenant Woman. And it's just been so thrilling. I'm running the first cohort of it right now. And it's amazing to watch women transform and really step into their power to create the life they want and to really deepen that connection with God while finding that joy that was missing in their life.
Because
It sounds like
if you want to find your person, you've got to find yourself first. You've got to know who you are and what you want your life to represent, or else otherwise, how do you know what person you want to have be a part of that journey? We have no idea, right? If we don't know who we are, we don't have anywhere to start with. And how do men know how to lead unless they know what they're leading towards and what they're leading with in terms of their core values and all of that? So doing work inside your marriage starts with doing individual work, and is actually the bulk of the work inside of your marriage is doing individual work. So that's why, so Jen and I are going to work together to say, or sign up for this. Why don't you have your wife go sign up for that, and vice versa. So that's kind of where we're headed, is we kind of want to take over the LDS world by storm here and make some magic happen.
We do. We want to help as many LDS men and women as we can.
I
Yeah.
love it.
It's
I love
exciting.
it. Well, sounds like the stars are aligning and you guys are like finding the groove there in your own little corner of the universe. So to our listeners, I know that we all know people, including ourselves, that can benefit from this conversation. So I would encourage anybody who's listening to share this conversation with people that you love. And like, let's just, as we get these tools out to more people, like we're just uplifting everyone around us. And as as we rise, everyone around us rise. We're just making the world it's already a beautiful place to live. But imagine what we can create as we share these things with other people. So I encourage you guys to share this as well with people that you know, that you love. So you guys, thank you, Bob and Jen, for joining me today. And this has been really fun. So
Thank you so much, Heather. Such a
yeah,
privilege.
Yes.
thank you
Thank you.
guys. And we'll see you all next time on Latter Day Life Coaches. Bye, everybody. Hey, we just wanted to thank you for spending part of your day here with us at Latter Day Life Coaches and being part of this conversation. Share this with your friends so that you can have a conversation with them on this topic as well. And as always, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Have a good one, my friends.